Hey, this is Idea Coaches, the Coach East Roan, weighing in on the weight classes for UFC on Fox, headlined by Johnson versus Moraga and the Flyweight Championship bout. I'm talking about this and the co-main event. Let's get into it. Welterweight bout, Rory McDonald versus Jake Ellenberger. In the welterweight fight that everyone has their eyes on, Rory McDonald faced off against Jake Ellenberger. Recent interviews with Jake has him stating that Roy is just a media creation, and I feel that this is somewhat true. After defeating a stylistically advantageous matchup with him and Nate Diaz, Roy actually took on two easier opponents in Mike Pyle and Shane Mills, which he uses wrestling and ground and pound to finish them off. In his most prolific fight with BJ Penn, another advantageous fight for him, BJ, I'm just going to say this, great fighter, but he was old, undersized, and let's just be honest, outside of Matt Hughes, he was never that great of a welterweight. His opponent, Jake Ellenberger, had his hiccups in the past, but is really starting to come into his own, much like McDonald himself. I imagine Nate Marquardt before he was this mediocre, with Ellenberger fighting with a number of promotions around the world before really coming to his own in the UFC. I'm going to say this short and sweet. I feel that the peak of their careers is approaching. Even though Ellenberger is 4 years older, they've been fighting for almost the same amount of time. The wrestling should nullify itself. And Rory McDonald, even though he's a fantastic wrestler and he's had a couple of easy fights for him personally and in the past, he keeps his hands just a little bit too low for a power puncher like Ellenberger. I'm not going to say that Ellenberger is going to knock Rory McDonald out. I'm just saying that he's going to keep him at bay with those big hooks that he has. Both fighters are walking into this fight with a lot of confidence. Rory McDonald has had a lot of attention from the media with his, wins over BJ Penn and Nate Diaz. Ellenberger's been knocking people out. I know that he has that hiccup with Martin Kampmann. However, I think that he learned enough from that fight in his recent performances. So I'm going to have to say this. Jake Ellenberger should win at UFC on Fox. Flyweight Championship bout. The challenger, John Moraga versus the champion, Demetrious Johnson. If the UFC is not going to take its flyweight seriously, how can they expect me to? This card is main evented with the champion, Demetrious Johnson, face off against the challenger, John Moraga, in his third UFC fight. Instead of having a flyweight title tournament off the bat like the UFC did, they should have built these guys up a little bit more for the casual fans. Those three other fighters who lost are now unmarketable, so now the UFC is forced to get guys who are even lesser known. Thankfully, the UFC has been trying to rectify this, or at least with their bantamweight division at 135, with the new season of Ultimate Fighter coming up, season 18, with Marissa Tate and Ronda Rousey as the coaches. Due to the physiology of their frames, many flyweights have the same fighting style. That's dart in and out with strikes, occasional low kicks, and a weird habit of crossing their legs when they circle around the octagon. Now, John Moraga this is going to be his only third fight, so there's not a lot of footage of him in the UFC. Luckily, I researched him on Rage Cage through YouTube and saw a number of his fights now. And from what I can tell you is that I'm a little unimpressed with his jiu-jitsu skills. He has a very hard time passing the guard, even half guard. So they're both wrestlers, but I think Demetrious Johnson wrestling is just on that extra level, that higher level, I should say. And I don't feel that Moraga is going to have a good chance unless he gets in a lucky pop. Now, that said, a lot of the lower weight classes, bantamweight, flyweight, featherweight, the champions and the guys who are on top have a much shorter lifespan than, someone like a John Jones or the Anderson Silva one. You don't really see a lot of long-time champions in those lower weight classes. So I don't know whether or not Demetrious Johnson has peaked. I don't assume so. He hasn't seemed like he's slowing down. And I don't really feel that John's skills are enough to take the belt away from him. I see Demetrious Johnson retaining the championship.